Okay, this is the last section in the book, or in chapter 4. It'd be nice if it was the last section in the book. Last section in chapter 4. Hopefully you guys have been working through this. The same is with the other chapters. The last section here is inequalities. So we've been working with factoring, with polynomials, with equalities. This is with inequalities. And this is less recipe-like, if you will, than the equalities are in factoring and solving. This is an inequality, of course, so we're going to use these signs. And this really relates back to the zero product, where we have a times b is equal to 0. So if that is true, then what must be true about one or either of these? Well, they have to be 0. That's the zero product property that you guys have been working on. So this is a little more thinking. So this says, well, this AB product, if it's not equal to, then there are some other possibilities. Well, A times B could be greater than 0, or A times B could be less than 0. And this is an or here, and that's very important. So look, if A times B is greater than 0, what do we know about the values of this product? Well, they could be negative, each one, because a negative times a negative is a positive, which is greater than 0. So that's a possibility here. Also, these could both be positive, in which case this would also be 0. So if this was the case, we have a couple of variations here. Similarly, if A times B was less than 0, we have options as well. A could be negative and B positive, or A could be positive and B could be negative, in which case both products would be less than 0. Now, let's take an example, which is an example, it's a little bit down the page on example 1, on page 202. So I've jumped in here a little bit and said, if we factored this polynomial into x plus 2 and x minus 3 are greater than 0. Well, again, what does this mean? We have some options, and you need to reason this through. It means that both of these could be negative. They could be less than 0. So that means that x plus 2 could be less than 0, and at the same time, and x minus 3 is less than 0, in which case we get x is less than negative 2, and x is less than positive 3. And this is and here. So at the same time. Now, think of this. If we did number lines here, and we had a number line going to the left from positive 3 and a number line going to the left from negative 2, the overlap starts at negative 2 and goes to the left. Similarly, both of these could be positive. So x plus 2 could be greater than 0, and at the same time, x minus 3 could be greater than 0. In which case, once again, x would be greater than negative 2, and at the same time, x would be greater than positive 3. And again, the overlapping number line going to the right from negative 2 to the right and negative 3 to the right, the overlap starts at 3, positive 3, and goes that way. So I'll do another video here on cube terms, because that becomes a little more difficult still.